Good evening. Please mark in your psalm book for the invitation song, page 907. 907. Today I will be talking about how God works today. God works in miraculous ways all through the Bible. There have been many occasions where God has worked through miracles against the laws of nature. For example, he allowed Elijah to raise a child from the dead. He made a blind man see. He raised Christ from the dead, and Christ fed over 5,000 people with a few loaves of bread and little fish. There are many more cases where God, Christ, and the Holy Spirit has performed miracles through the Bible, but another way God works is through providence. The book of Esther and many other places in the Bible shows us how God works in this way. In the book of Esther, a Jew living in Shushan, the capital of Persia, was an orphan who was raised by her cousin Mordecai. Esther was among a group of young women picked for the Persian king Ahasuerus, who dismissed his wife and began looking for another, and soon picked Esther, who surpassed the others in talent and beauty, to become the new queen. Soon Haman, the evil general who hated Mordecai because he would not bow to the king, tricked the king to make a decree that all Jews should be killed. Esther bravely begged the king to save the Jews. Haman's plot was discovered and was hung on the gallows that had been built to hang Mordecai. Another clear example of providence in this story of Joseph is the story of Joseph, when Joseph's brothers tell him to sell him to the slave traders, which sold him to Egypt, where he worked as a slave and was in prison for many years. But through remarkable events, Joseph the Israelite made it to the second most powerful man in all the land. A terrible famine came, and due to that, his brothers journeyed to Egypt to buy food. They bowed down to Joseph, not knowing it was him, just as Joseph saw in his dream. He finally revealed himself to his brothers, and then brought the rest of his family to live in Egypt. Their father died, and Joseph's brothers feared he'd get revenge on him, so they begged him for his forgiveness. So Joseph, called them and forgave them. These examples show how, in many ways, God has worked not in miracles but in providence. For some people, seeing believes, and sometimes they might think about all the miracles God has done through the Bible and how exciting it would be. John 20:29 reads, "Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who yet have believed." I feel bad for those people. The apostles knew that one day the powers would leave the church. They were used to show everyone else that it was from God, but that doesn't mean God will stop working his ways through providence. An amazing thing happened to me when I was born, July 1st, 2002. Everything seemed fine, and I was the first of my brothers that didn't have any problems. But luck soon ran out, and I had labored breathing and was put in a tent to dry up my lungs. About 14 hours since birth, my parents still haven't held me, and the doctors and nurses became concerned. A team of doctors implanted a tube in my chest. I coded and was fully incubated, so they did CPR. A helicopter came and sent me to all children's when the summer storms made us turn around halfway and got put in a natal care ambulance and was sent off. Fluid was filling up my chest while the doctor performed CPR. Over the next 3 weeks, I coded over and over for no explanation while my parents watched, praying, hoping I'd make it. After 3 weeks, my parents had enough of my suffering, with all my veins blown out, purple head to toe. There were still veins on the top of my head, but the doctors had no more they could do. My parents, thinking I was done, signed the do not resuscitate papers and waited, praying and crying. They got a phone call after a couple hours to come to the room where I was, to find that I was getting better, getting stronger. To this day, there was no explanation why this happened, and also to this day, do I have the scars to prove it. To me, I thought that was extraordinary, to be healthy and strong, playing as many sports as I do. God must have a plan for me after living through that. Sometimes I wonder what it is. God is there when we least expect it and will always be there and be working in our lives. There will be times where you second guess him, or life just makes you think if he's there. But he is standing there with you, watching, testing, and waiting.